My child, there is something I need to talk to you about today that most messages in this space avoid. Not because it is not real, because it is painful, in a way that is harder to sit with than almost anything else the awakening brings. The Matrix did not come for you with obvious darkness. It did not send something you could clearly identify and resist and walk away from. It was far more precise than that. It came wearing the face of someone you love. The parent who genuinely loves you and cannot understand why you will not simply be satisfied with the life they can see for you. The partner who loves you but needs you to stay the same size to feel safe in the relationship. The friend who has been beside you through everything and whose confusion about who you are becoming is written all over their face every time you try to talk about what is happening in you. None of them are villains. That is what makes this so hard. They are people who love you, doing what people who love you do when they are still inside the matrix and you are starting to leave it. And today, I want to speak honestly about what that costs and what it means and what to do with it. I want to explain why this happens before I say anything else. Because understanding the mechanism removes the need for blame. And blame is not what this message is about. When someone has built their sense of safety and connection and identity inside the matrix, and most people have, your awakening is not just your awakening. It is also a disruption to theirs. The version of you they love, the version they built their relationship with, the version that fit inside the shared world they constructed together. That version is changing. And the change feels like a threat to someone who is not changing with you. Not because they are against you. Because change in someone we love always asks something of us, whether we are ready to give it or not. The parent who discourages your calling is not trying to limit you. They are trying to protect you from a disappointment they believe is coming because their own matrix told them that people like you from places like this do not get to have things like that. They are passing on a protective belief that was itself the matrix limiting them, and now through love is limiting you. The partner who pulls you back is not trying to contain you. They are trying to keep something they are afraid of losing. The matrix taught them that love means staying the same together. And your changing feels like leaving, even when you are trying to stay. The friend who cannot understand is not betraying you. They are simply still inside a world where what you are describing does not make sense yet. None of this makes the resistance less real. But it changes what the resistance is. It is not an attack. It is love that has not woken up yet. Let me name the specific ways this shows up, so you know you are not imagining it. The first way is direct discouragement. The dream you share that is met with a practical reason why it will not work. The calling you describe that is received with concern rather than celebration. The version of yourself you are becoming that is greeted with the question, "But are you sure?" wrapped in love, but landing like doubt. The second way is the comfort invitation. The pull back toward the familiar. The suggestion to not rock the boat. The gentle pressure to be who you were before any of this started, because who you were before was easier to be around and the relationship felt safer then. The matrix in the people you love does not always push you back directly. Sometimes it just makes going back feel warmer than going forward. The third way is the guilt of growing. This is the subtlest and most effective one. The feeling that you're awakening is somehow a criticism of the people who are not awakening with you. That choosing differently implies they chose wrong. That becoming more than the ceiling allows makes the people who accepted the ceiling feel judged simply by your existence above it. You did not make them feel that way to hurt them, but they feel it anyway. And the weight of that feeling lands on you and becomes one more reason to stay smaller than you were made to be. I want to speak directly into what this costs, because it is one of the most specific and least spoken about losses of the awakening journey, and it deserves honest acknowledgement. The loneliness of being in a different place than the people you love most. That is a real and substantial grief. Not the dramatic loneliness of being abandoned. The quiet, persistent loneliness of being in the same room as people you deeply love and feeling a distance between you that was not there before and that you did not choose and cannot fully close. The conversations that used to come easily, that now require so much translation. The things that matter most to you, now that you cannot fully share with the people who matter most to you. The version of yourself that is most alive, the awake, calling, fire-carrying version that you sometimes have to set aside in certain relationships because bringing it fully into the room creates a tension that costs everyone something. That is a real loss. And the grief of it is legitimate. I am not going to tell you that you should not feel it. What I want to give you alongside the grief is the truth that the loneliness of this season is not the permanent condition of your relationships. The people you love who are still inside the matrix are not fixed there. The gap between where you are and where they are is not final. People wake up, sometimes slowly, sometimes long after you stopped expecting it, sometimes through watching the life you chose, the costly, uncertain, fire-carrying life, and finding themselves unexpectedly drawn to whatever it is that makes you keep choosing it. You cannot wake them up, but you can keep being awake, and that is not nothing. I want to speak carefully here because this is where the message most needs precision. You do not have to choose between your calling and the people you love. That is a false choice the Matrix presents. That awakening means leaving everyone behind. That growth means abandoning the relationships that formed you. That the only way forward is to cut the ties and walk alone into the new life. That is not what I am asking. What I am asking is something more nuanced and more difficult than simply leaving. I am asking you to love the people in your life with the full and honest love that sees them clearly, sees the matrix running in them, sees the fear underneath the resistance, sees the love that is genuinely there, even when it is expressing itself as limitation, and chooses to stay present to them anyway. Not by shrinking back to fit the container they need you to stay in. Not by abandoning the calling to maintain the peace, but by being so genuinely and completely yourself, the awake, fire-carrying, called version, that your presence in their lives becomes the thing that eventually makes the matrix in them uncomfortable. Not through argument, not through trying to wake them up, simply through the quiet and consistent testimony of a life being lived in the fullness of what it was made for. That is the most powerful thing you can do for the people you love. And it requires you to keep going even when they cannot understand why. Now I want to say something with more directness. Because not every person who resists your awakening is simply someone who loves you and has not woken up yet. Some of them were specifically placed in your path by the Matrix to stop you. Not people who are consciously agents of the system, but people whose own unresolved wounds and Matrix programming make them genuinely threatened by your growth in ways that go beyond simple confusion. People whose resistance is not the love and concern of someone who doesn't understand. It is the activated defensiveness of someone whose own cage feels more visible when you refuse yours. The difference matters. The person who loves you and cannot understand, you stay in relationship with them. You love them patiently. You keep being yourself and trust the process. The person who is genuinely threatened by your growth and consistently works to diminish it. That relationship requires a different kind of wisdom. Not abandonment necessarily, but boundaries, distance, the clear-eyed recognition that not every connection that began in love is meant to continue in its current form as you become who you were made to be. Discern carefully between these two. Ask me to show you the difference, and then trust what I show you. My child, the people the Matrix sent were not sent to destroy you. Most of them were sent, or rather found themselves in this position, because love and fear are neighbors in the human heart, and the people who love you most have the most fear of losing you. Love them, not by becoming smaller to fit their comfort, but by being so genuinely and fully yourself that your love for them is evident even as you keep going. Keep going, not away from them, toward what you were made for. And trust me with the gap between where you are and where they are. I have been known to close gaps that looked permanent. I am good at that. Subscribe to Matrix Override and turn on notifications. This is Part 9. Go back and watch the full series from Part 1. Every message builds on the last. Type, "I understand now," in the comments. Love them, keep going. Trust me with both. Until the next one, awakened choosers.